Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are talking fantasy baseball. I'm your host, Eric Henriksen, and with me once again, Josh Day. Josh, how you doing? How was your Memorial Day weekend? I know that was about a week ago already, but did you have a good long break from work?
Yeah, it was good. It was good to just chill and not think about it, the many stresses of life and relax and catch some baseball games, you know?
Yeah, lots of great baseball last weekend. We're gonna catch you up on a lot of the first half stuff, even though we're not at the halfway point yet. I guess we're at the third point, so we're gonna catch up on a lot of the one third way point of the season, the 2-month check-in, as we're calling it.
Uh-huh.
Talking about underperformers, talking about overperformers, and we've also got a new segment alert. Where are they now? Where we're going to check in on the early season darlings and see how they're doing and whether they're worth rostering anymore or if they've sort of jumped up a tier with sustained performance. So, just a friendly reminder, please subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating. We're available on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Oh, and the Odyssey app as well. We have a lot of players to cover. Like Josh and I could not dwindle this list down at all because we're going full steam ahead today. So let's jump right in. But I feel like I do this to us every week. I want to jump right in, but then wait a minute, pause. Got
Uh-oh.
something to
Do, do,
quickly
do, do,
talk
do,
about
do, do,
here.
do, 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 do.
I had a roster crunch this morning. You
Ah,
said we should talk about it on the pod, so I
yep.
added it to the rundown. I had Mike Trout coming off the injured list. You did too in another league, but
Me too.
you didn't have the roster crunch. So I had Trout coming off the injured list, and in this league, I'm really hurting for pitching. So
Hmm.
I've got Tyler McGill, I've got Meyer, I've got
Yep.
Chris Bassett, I've got Shane Smith. Those are the bottom four in my rotation, and then I've also got
Yep.
Jake Berger, who was my bench player, and I wasn't sure who to drop to activate Mike Trout. Based on your assessment, what should I have done? And I will reveal what I did do, but what was your opinion before I did anything?
Looking at your team and you mentioned the back end of your starting rotation.
It's not good.
I was like, well, I was like, there's some clear drops there, guys that aren't really gonna like maybe like you could look at Max Meyer as like a stash right now. Like he clearly has stuff. He's really going through something right now. Perhaps he's shown us his upside, but now we're really seeing the floor. So maybe you can like hold on to him and just and as a stash. McGill is frustrating because he doesn't go deep into games. And also his command can just really fail him. So he can really hurt you as well. So, and I'm not sure that he's going to be a big difference maker down the stretch. I think I'd hold on to Bassett. I think can be the steady arm for most of the time. Shane Smith, he's new. We don't really quite know what to expect from him. Plays for bad team context. I think you'd probably cut him without, I mean, like it's not like you don't have pitching. You have Max Fried, you have Sonny Gray, you have Libertor, Bubic, and then you also have like Glass now. I don't know if Shane McClanahan's what he's gonna do for us this season.
Uh,
But you're pretty covered. So I was just thinking like if you just had to make a choice, you could probably drop one of. I think I'd go Tyler McGill just because he doesn't go deep in the games and it's a quality start league. So he seems
yeah.
pretty consistently not getting us there. And it's like, well, if you needed something, why not just like roster a super RP guy, like an innings eater RP guy that will give you strikeouts.
I was considering that too.
But on the other hand, it's like Jake Berger, but it's like you have a really stacked like hitting lineup. Like your third baseman is Austin Riley, your first baseman is Matt Olson, and right now you have Kristen Yelich in your utility and an amazing outfield. So it's like you really don't need Jake Berger. I guess you could like try and shop him, although the Y rank right now is 718, and
It's
Jake
not
Berger
great.
he's not like, everyone loves burgers, but it's just not a sexy. I don't think that's a lot. The bait is really there, so I think you'd just be spinning your wheels unless you package him with, I don't know what.
Not a lot of burgers being served up last weekend during like the first big grill
Yeah,
weekend of the summer. Just a homer and 2 RBIs last weekend for Jake Berger. I believe he is now cold again.
yeah. No, nobody likes cold burgers.
Nobody likes cold burgers. Nobody likes a leftover burger either. S
So, so you said at the top of this, like, you need pitching. So I think I would probably toss the burger and just go with Mike Trout on your bench. Or
That's what I did. That to reveal to the audience.
so, yeah, I think you made the right call.
Yeah, I dropped Jake Berger because you said my lineup is stacked. I don't really need him. Uh, as of right now, Trout will be on the bench till he gets back into things. He did not have a rehab assignment. This is really sad. This is the state of my pitching in this league. Now, I'm in first place, so take
Yeah.
all of the complaints with a grain of salt. Tyler McGill leads my team in strikeouts.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
he has the most strikeouts on my team, 2 ahead of Chris Bubich.
wow.
Yeah, I know. That's the state of my starting pitching in this league.
Mhm.
So I kept McGill for the strikeouts. He has
Okay.
atrocious matchups this week. Like
Oh,
he's definitely going to be on the
yeah.
bench. And I'm not saying that I won't drop him still, but Berger I thought was the right move here in
Yeah.
the meantime, and we'll see how I feel about McGill through the weekend. But you alluded to picking up a high quality reliever. I still might do that. It might be a better use of the roster spot than Tyler McGill.
I might have to pry that information off you because I just lost a reliever.
Well, I wasn't gonna go for a guy who gets saves plus holds. I was just gonna go
Oh,
for an
okay.
innings eating
Yeah,
reliever.
yeah, yeah.
And you once rostered him in this league. He's a fairly obvious guy, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben Kasparius. That's who we're talking about.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Anyway, that's my roster crunch. It's been taken care of by tossing out cold burgers and keeping the man formerly known as Ty Lord Miguel in the rotation, but on the bench, safely on the bench for now. All right, so here is our 2-month check-in. All right, so in this 2-month check-in, we're going to take a look at some of the under and over performers through the first 2 months of this season based on preseason expectations. And what I did was I went down the list of hitters and pitchers. I took their original draft ranking and I squared it up against their current ranking on Yahoo.
Mhm.
Now, of course, there are more scientific ways of doing this, but I just needed the very quick, easy way to see how to compare them to the rest of the player pool and how they're doing.
Yeah.
So this is what I found, and we're going to start with underperformers first and foremost. The biggest underperformer that I saw was none other than the 760 mil. Is it 60? 760 million? 750? The very expensive $750 million man, Juan Soto. Biggest struggler that I came across first and foremost. Josh, what do we think of Juan Soto? Are we really worried about him underperforming so far?
Oh my God, I'm losing sleep. I don't even own Soto, and I'm just worried for his owners. No, I'm not worried. Why would you be worried about Juan Soto? His underlying numbers look great. I mean, he's gone through slumps before. I think if anything's actionable here, either just hold on, or if you don't own him, just go to a worry, shake down the worried owner and go buy.
Simple as that. Juan Soto, we're not worried about him. Go get him if you can. All right, next up on the list, Ozzy Albies. Are we really worried about Albies too? I mean, there might be some indicators there, but I don't know. He's got a pretty strong track record.
Yeah, he has a long track record, and I've never owned Albies. I think because he's been like a keeper in both of our leagues. But my inkling on him is that he goes through cold stretches. And also, my God, second base, like, just what an atrocity of a position this season. So I think he's not. Maybe he's he's going through it right now. He's having a slow start, but I would just hold,
Hold.
because
Yep.
it's not, it does not look good out there.
If you have maybe a worse second baseman than Albies, somebody like, Marcus Semien, maybe I would go and look to get Albies from the Albies owner. But speaking of Semien, he was dropped in one of our
I
leagues.
know he was dropped in our 10-teamer.
Honestly, I'm not mad at it. What do you think?
No. Yeah, I was looking at his numbers for the pod, and it's just like it kind of seemed like a player on sort of the back end of his career. I thought was well, I was looking at his numbers, and what's interesting to me is that his exit velocity is in the upper 80s, but that's sort of how it's been. I mean, going all the way back. I mean, that's been pretty much his career. He's not like a big exit velo guy. I mean, his hard hit percentage is down this season, and it looks like it's been going down for the past 3 seasons. So I don't know. I mean, it seems like this is I mean, I think this would be a concerning player, especially probably at where he was drafted.
He's pulling the ball in the air, the lowest of his entire career in the StatCast era since, 2015. 2015,
Yeah.
he pulled the ball in the air 19.2% of the time. This year, he's doing the same thing 19.2% of the time. He had a couple seasons around 18%. But no, this is definitely the worst version of Marcus Semien that we've seen. He's been on the decline over the last couple of years. He's 34. I just think this is a guy who can't outrun his peripherals anymore. So I'd be totally fine moving on from him.
I kind of think I'd want like Glaber Torres over him rest of
Wow.
season.
That's a good comp,
I
I think,
mean,
at this point. Yeah, I would too.
I just think like because I was looking at Torres the other day, and I just think he has like he's not exciting, but like outside maybe the top two for a second baseman, you're not really there isn't a lot to be excited about. But Torres to me looks like he's going to give you at least batting average, not great batting average, but like a solid floor, and he'll give you some power and some speed. Whereas I'm not sure. Simeon seems to be very volatile, so I think I might take a shot on Torres.
Gleyber Torres, best K percentage of his career at 11.2%. He's also hitting the ball pretty hard, average exit velocity 90.4 miles an hour, which ties a career high from 2022. His XBA is 299. I would definitely drop Marcus Semien and pick up Gleyber Torres if I can't move Semien to a sucker
Yeah.
in my league. But keeping in the realm of second base, talk about abysmal. Oh, man. A stalwart at the position for the last decade. Jose Altuve.
Yeah.
Are we worried about the future Hall of Famer, the trash can
Oh,
extraordinaire, the buzzer
and
on the chest extraordinaire?
I mean, not to get into a rabbit hole, but I mean, I'm not sure he's going to be voted in.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we'll save that for another pod. But in the first 2 months of the season, his StatCast looks pathetic. Like, I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
seen a guy with his bat to ball skills look this bad. Now, he's been able to overperform his peripherals as well over his
Mhm.
career. He's 35. He's playing left field. He asked not to
Mm.
bat leadoff because it was taking him too long to get in from the outfield. I'd be worried just off that. How about you?
I mean, I was watching Shane Baz pitch last night, and Altuve did homer off him. I think I would again based on the state of second base. I think if I was an Altuve owner, I would just ride it out. It's not going to be a gaudy line at the end of it, but I think he'll give you maybe 20 homers and 15 steals with like a 260-ish average, which I think you'd be probably be perfectly fine with at the end of the season.
I buy that. I would
You know?
probably be okay with that because, like you said, second base is bad. And hopefully you have Altuve in your second base slot, not in the outfield, because
Yeah,
there are
yeah, yeah.
way better outfielders. Like we talked about, that glob that's emerged at outfield's like 25
Yeah.
to 50 is all the same player. And they're all better than Altuve at this point in his
Yeah.
career. Speaking of globby outfielders, Lawrence Butler, what do we what do we think? Is he doing what we think he was supposed to do? I think he's an underperformer. Again, I've slotted him in with the underperformers: Altuve,
Yeah, yeah.
Semien, Soto, Albies. What do you think on Lawrence Butler? Because he was being drafted fifth, sixth, seventh round, and he
Hmm.
hasn't returned that value yet. But Oakland's heating up. I'm sorry, Sacramento is heating up.
Yeah. Well, actually, he was dropped in our 12 teamer. I picked him up. Actually, I think he was dropped a couple times, picked up and you know, I think it's a case of that he was overvalued at the start of the season. I think he was put a little too high. So I think expectations might have been a little too high for him, but I don't think he was ever going to be like an app like a he was never going to hit for grade average. Like, or I think he's susceptible to slumps because I think, some of his plate discipline is a little questionable at times. I
Well,
think he's
that's why
also
he
having
got
a pro
sent down last year because his plate
Yeah,
discipline
yeah.
was awful.
And I think he might have an issue with what is it, like off speed stuff. But he's striking out 26% of the time. He is walking. His ISO is close to 200. I mean, right now he's hitting 249 with 8 homers, 8 stolen bases. It seems pretty close to what kind of the person he was last season.
Yeah, that's a 25-25-ish pace about.
So I kind of think he's doing it. It's just he's going to be streaky because
That's
I
fair.
don't think I don't think he has the hit tool to keep above 260, 270.
Yeah, no, not with a swinging strike rate of 14.7%
Yeah,
and a contact percentage of 68. Those are dangerously close to Luis Robert numbers. Talk about another underperformer. But because we've talked about him on this podcast a lot,
yeah.
I left him off the list. But one outfielder who is on this list, actually, I have two here. We'll start with the one that I think requires less analysis. Brian Reynolds, he's been pretty bad, kind of like the Pirates. He is kind of the new Mr. Pirate.
Yeah.
He's the only guy that they've gotten to sign an extension. He's signed there through 2031. Oh, poor guy.
Doesn't like the bright lights.
Does not. You worried at all about Brian Reynolds, or can we still pencil him in for about 20 to 25 home runs, 80 to 90 RBIs with about a 260, 270 average?
I think this might be kind of a down season for him, although I think it's not going to be far off. I think he's probably going to hit like in the low 20s, maybe, homers, but he hit 24 last season. He stole 10 bases last season. I could see him reaching that and hitting 260. He's not like that exciting of a player. Like he's
Yeah,
just kind of like a guy you kind of want to set as like a stabilizer, but I think unfortunately guys that aren't that exciting, if they slump, they're really boring.
put him in
So,
the glob. As
like
simple as that. Put him in the glob.
I wouldn't be overly worried, but I wouldn't go in, for the rest of the season of high expectations.
Yeah, I think it's hard to have high expectations for anyone in Pittsburgh, minus Paul Skeens and O'Neill
Oh
Cruz.
no, Cruz.
Yep, O'Neill Cruz did not make the overperformers list because I think he's kind of doing what everyone hoped he would doing.
Yep.
But I got one more underperformer for you, and that is another outfielder, like I said. Anthony Santander signed a big contract with Toronto. It's coming off a 44 homer season. And honestly, like I looked at his game log and I was appalled. To
Yeah.
put it nicely, I look at this man is stealing money right now. What do
Hmm.
what do we think of Anthony Santander and his 5-year, $92.5 million contract
Man.
for a designated hitter who hit 235 last year? I'm sorry, I'm just like laughing. Like, why did Toronto? Because they whiffed on
Yeah.
everyone else. That's why they signed him.
Yeah, I was actually offered him. He was offered to me in a trade for Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, what?
Obviously, I didn't take that.
No. Do you drop him at this point? I mean,
Well, he was just put on the IL, so I think your decision is made. I think I would put him on your IL. Hopefully he in his rehab or his time not playing baseball, he remembers how to play baseball, and then
Oh,
you can expect what he has given us going forward. Looks like his barrel percentage is way down, like I mean plummeted from the past 3 seasons. It's at 5% right now, and he last 3 seasons it was like 11, 10. Yeah, his XBA is 197. So yeah, I mean it's not great. I perhaps he's injured and he was
that's
playing
what I'm
through
thinking.
something.
I'm thinking he's either hurt or something is just so mechanically off, maybe because of an injury, that's
What
why
was his
his
injury?
his barrel rate is down, his K rate is up, but his walk rate is up too. So I think that's interesting. But yeah, he's just it's just a probably another just a bad season. I would have penciled him in for a 230 average, 30 to 35 home runs.
He's interesting. He's out with shoulder inflammation.
Well, that probably has been affecting his swing. Look at
Yep.
that. All right, so now we know the
So
mystery. He is a switch hitter too, so I wonder how that will affect things. Like if he'll only hit
so
from one side of the plate.
yeah, I don't think I would drop him. I would definitely stash him because if he can heal and he can regain that power stroke, that could be pretty useful, I think, down the stretch. But we'll see. I'm not sure I'd go and buy him.
No, no, I would not buy him either. But that does it for our underperformers. Now we're going to move on to our overperformers. And first up is the guy who was highlighted in our player spotlight last week, our new segment in the debut of the segment, Pete Crow Armstrong, overperformer. Can we just sum up what we said last week? Sell, right?
I think so.
I think so too. So if you got PCA, I would sell him, even though he just continues to rake. I do think at some point it's just going to come crashing back down to earth. But his teammate, Seiya Suzuki, is having a phenomenal start to the season. I was big on Seiya Suzuki last year. I think I
Oh
drafted
yeah,
him in both of our leagues. I was
you did.
possibly a year too early, although he was very serviceable last year. So, what do we think? Every number across the board is up
Yeah, looks
in all the
great.
right in all the right ways for Suzuki. I mean, I doubt you get a manager to sell him to you at the moment without you buying too high. But how do you like the rest of the season outlook?
I mean, yeah, the numbers look great. His exit velocity is 93, max exit velocity 116, 16% barrel, 51% hard hit rate. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is exactly what you want. I mean, he's playing with a great offense, at least right now. I could see him hitting 30 homers, hitting 270. I mean, right now, I'm not sure he's going to sustain all of those gaudy numbers, but he's overperforming in a way that even if he slipped a little bit, it's still it's still great.
Yeah, I think if you were fortunate enough to draft him, you've got a steal there. I think you've got a steal in Seiya Suzuki, and I think he's a hold, and his rest of the season outlook is pretty good, pretty sustainable. What he's doing is what we're saying.
hmm
So it's not a sell high situation like his teammate Pete Crow Armstrong. Next up, let's talk about Paul Goldschmidt. Goldie's been a really nice find for the Yankees at
Yeah.
first base, but he might be clogging things up for someone who we'll get to later in the show. Much to your dismay. But let's talk about Goldie. Is Goldie back?
Uh,
Yep,
I
that's how
mean,
I
I,
feel.
I I was a big detractor because as a Yankees fan, I was like, I think anything is gonna, I think we're all disappointed that Soto did not give the Yankees the rose, but and anything was gonna feel like scraps in terms of free agent signings after that.
Can
But
we pause right there? You just threw in a Bachelorette reference? A Bachelor reference with the rose? Okay.
yeah,
All right.
so I not sure that he's back. I mean, not sure he's gonna have a power stroke. His exit velocities aren't huge. He's not hitting the ball particularly hard. Seems like he's like an average doubles guy.
That's
maybe.
what I think he's turned into, and every once in a while, he'll get a hold of one because his barrel rate is down, which I find hilarious now that he's using the torpedo bat. Okay, so his barrel
Hmm.
rate is down, his exit velocities are down,
Yep.
but he's making more contact.
Hmm.
He's only striking out 16% of the time. He is striking out a career best 15.6% of the time. That to
Yeah.
me is the giant red flag because I don't think a guy at 37 years old is going to sustain a career best strikeout rate the entire season.
Hmm.
I just don't. His XBA is
Yes.
307, which is really good. Also the highest of his career. I just look, superstar
Yes.
players typically have a longer runway on the back half of their career, but we've seen Goldie be in decline for like 3 years at this point. I don't think he's miraculously turned that around. I don't. I think he's just
Mm-mm.
hot.
I think so too. I mean, his BABIP is up. I think, eye in the sky, he hits 20 homers, and hits 260.
I think I would actually take the under on the 20 homers personally.
I said pie in the sky.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right, pie in the sky. Next up on the overperformers list, I've got 4 pitchers for you. I've got Carlos Rodon, Jesus Luzardo, Nathan Evaldi, and Hunter Brown. All 4 of these guys are having spectacular starts to the season. Evaldi's in the back half of his career. Hunter Brown is in the beginning. Rodon's in the middle. Luzardo, I guess, is in the middle, though he's been around for a while. He still might be early in his career. He's not that old. What do we think of these guys? Have they sort of jumped tiers? Should we change our expectations of them moving forward? Should we be wary of them? What are we thinking?
I think I'm a hold on Rodon and Hunter Brown. Um, I think Hunter Brown has demonstrated his upside and somewhat of a stability. I know he was kind of rocky last season, but
It was only at the start of last
it
season.
was the only start. But I think he's demonstrated his upside and sort of a nice floor for him that I would be willing to hold on to him. I think he's taken a step forward. Rodon, I think I think he ditched one of his pitches that wasn't really working for him, and I think he's just on a good stretch right now. So I think I'd be happy with him. That if you drafted him, took a risk, I think definitely I'd just ride it through. Good Rodon. I think Evaldi is injured. I think he's dealing
Shocker.
with. I think he just got injured. So I think my answer would have been before this development. I would say sell because he gets injured. He has brilliant short stretches every season and then gets injured and then can't really recapture that. So my advice would have been to sell, but I think that might be too well. I don't know the extent of the injury, but if it's not too bad and he makes another good start, I would definitely look to sell to someone that isn't familiar with his track record or maybe is just a giant Texas fan or Evaldi fan. But
Yeah, I feel like we've seen this 100 times before from Nate Evaldi. It's just like this high is just a little higher, and I bet the
yeah,
low that's coming is gonna be even lower.
yeah. So I would definitely sell. And Luzardo, I'm kind of in a similar mind. Like he has a extensive injury history, and I mean, look, all all pitchers like are destined to get injured. So you might trade for someone you think is stable, but then they get injured. But I just kind of think it's a greater odd with Luzardo.
Yeah.
Mm.
I How would you rank these 4 rest of season?
I think I'd go Brown, Rodon, Luzardo, Evaldi.
I agree with you there. I think it could go either way with Luzardo or Rodon though, because
Uh,
they've
that's
both
true.
shown really good highs like they're showing now, but they've
Good
also
point.
shown really bad lows too. Like Rodon
That's
had
true.
like an ERA
Yeah,
over 6 at the 4.5 last year. So and we've seen Luzardo have an ERA of 5 over the course of a full season. So
very
uh,
good point.
these guys are really tricky, but I think the one out of all of them that I think, barring injury, We're going to come into next season going, Hunter Brown is an ace. He's an SP1, and I'm going to draft him as such next year. I think that's the only one of these guys that we're going to say that about at the end of this season. All right, so one last overperformer. I know we just grouped in the 4 pitchers, but I do have one more overperformer for you. If you can even call him an overperformer, but when you're hitting near 400, I think that's cause for overperformance. Aaron Judge is technically overperforming for a normal human being, but is he overperforming for him? I don't think so.
I don't know. He hasn't homered this week so far, so I think, he's definitely on the decline.
Oh,
I think
no.
sky is falling, like sell, sell, sell. Like I'm
His
kidding.
batting average has dropped to 391. Oh, man. Yeah, if you've got Aaron Judge, sell him immediately. Get as much as you can for him before it all comes cratering back down to earth, and he only hits 370 the rest of the year. Sorry, I just thought that was funny because, yes, he's technically overperforming, but you wouldn't think of it that way, right? Because you drafted him 1 or 2 overall in fantasy leagues. He is he's just a different animal than everybody else. Same with Shohei Ohtani. I guess you could say he's overperforming too. He got to 20 home runs much faster this year than he did last year. So wonder what's coming for Shohei. So there you have it. There are your overperformers and your underperformers at this 2-month checkpoint of the season. Next up, we've got, where are they now? A brand new segment. Where are they now? We're going to recap a lot of the guys that we've talked about early in the season, early April, mid-April, even most of May. I mean, these are the early season darlings that have really piqued everybody's interest that maybe weren't drafted widely at the beginning of the season. We're going to start off with the first base breakouts. We'll kind of group them together. Tyler Soderstrom, Spencer Torkelson, and Ben Rice. We have talked about a couple of these guys ad nauseum on this podcast. And first up, I just want to let's single out Soderstrom because you got a very peculiar trade offer yesterday.
That's right.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. So in our 10-teamer, I was offered Soderstrom for Michael Harris and Mike Trout. And at first, I'm a as we've discussed ad nauseum, I'm pretty frustrated with Michael Harris. And
oh, are you? Tell us more.
yeah, okay, I'll skip it. But anyway, and Mike Trout's been injured, and I'm just like, well, how much am I actually going to get from Mike Trout? And what's, because he's hitting under 200. It's kind of a confusing yet not surprising start for Mike Trout. So I was like, oh, Soderstrom, and also we have it's like a keeper league, so Soderstrom was undrafted, and I was like, oh, I can keep him in the back end of our draft. Yada yada yada. I was intrigued, but then I was looking at Soderstrom's numbers, and he's been abysmal in May. He's really kind of cratered since the first 15 days of April, I think. And then I hit you up last night, and I think you uncovered some pretty interesting stats on what's going on with Soderstrom.
His whiff rate has gone up. His chase percentage has gone up. And thus, all the expected stats are going down. Now, what has stayed steady is the barrel rate, and the exit velocity is still really good. But he's chasing more. He's whiffing more. So that means, to me, 2 things. He's pressing. 1, right? And 2, they may have figured him out.
Yeah.
Pitchers may have figured him out because now his K rate is up near 27%. I'm looking at him, and I may have even said it last week. If not, I said it the week before. Tyler Soderstrom, a favorite of the pod here. He feels like a weekly and participant. He is swinging and missing more now. It's as simple as that. So pitchers may have figured out where in his hot zone, in his, I guess if you break down the strike zone into 9 little spaces, right? Upper left, upper right, middle, etc. they may have figured out where he can't hit it, and that's where they're throwing it. And so he is not necessarily going through an adjustment, but is just being taken advantage of. Now they're just going, okay, but you can't hit it here. So I'm going to throw every pitch here because you can't hit it. And until you prove you can, I'm going to keep throwing it here. And I think that's what the league has done. So I am worried about Soderstrom now. Like you said, he's kind of been cold since mid-April, and that's how hot he was to start the year.
Yeah.
Is that his numbers for the season still look pretty good. Now, my recommendation to you was to not take that trade because we don't know what Soderstrom is over a full season at all.
Mhm.
We have no clue. Last year, he played 61 games. He's already got more plate appearances this year than he had last year. And I am a firm believer that if you're going to trade for an unknown and you're giving up a known asset, Mike Trout is a known asset. Michael Harris is a known asset. Yes, both of them are having mediocre beginnings to the season. And in Michael Harris's case, I think you would say there's 50 feet of crap. And then there's Michael Harris, right? But we do have a track record, and we talked about this the last week, of Michael Harris doing this before. Terrible first 2 months.
Yep.
Going Super Saiyan in the last 4 months. Super Saiyan, for those who don't know, is going absolutely ballistic. It's a reference to Dragon Ball Z. And we know Mike Trout is Mike Trout. He's a future Hall of Famer, alleged best player of his generation if he had stayed healthy, right? So I think you're giving up two known commodities for a very unknown commodity who had a great, 3 weeks. I don't think that is a good deal unless you're also still getting something else maybe that has more of a track record that might be more predictable coming back alongside Soderstrom. So I'm glad you did not take that trade. You made the right move in not taking that deal. That is a long way of saying I'm a little worried about Tyler Soderstrom, but Spencer Torkelson and Ben Rice.
Yeah.
These are the breakout first basemen. There are a couple others too, but these were the guys making headlines. What do we think now that we're 2 months in? Torkelson seems to have fallen right in line with what we expected him to do based on his 2023 season. And Ben Rice, he's more of the curious case.
Yeah. Torkelson, yeah, he seems to be replicating his 2023 season, for sure. I think he's on track for 30 homers, and he'll probably hit just under 250, I guess, like a 240, 230. That's kind of who he's going to be. I don't know. Like, is he a top 10 first baseman at this point?
No, I think he's more of your utility guy. Maybe if you need like another corner infielder, he's your corner infielder. I don't think he's a top 10 first baseman, not hitting 230, 240. If he gets that up to 260, yes, he's a top 10 first baseman. But I
agree with that.
that 30 points of batting average is going to hurt you more often than his power will help you.
I'm really disappointed. I've dropped. I don't have any shares with Ben Rice anymore. Not because I think he's a bad player. I actually think he's quite a good hitter, or has potential to be. It's just the playing time's killing him. He's just in and out of that Yankees lineup because of Paul Goldschmidt or Brent Grisham.
Teach him to play third.
And then, well, hey, Jazz, I guess he's going to be playing third exclusively now when he comes back.
Yeah. I don't mind that. I really don't, because he was great at third base last year for them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But then you have Stanton coming back. So it's just like, when is he going to play? I mean, I think he's pretty close to gaining catcher eligibility. So that could be, I guess, a pretty sweet catcher in a 2-catcher league, because I don't think he'll play very often there. But it's frustrating because, I mean, like, all his underlying numbers look pretty good. Now, what is that going to look like if he played every single day or was a regular player? I'm sure it wouldn't be as gaudy, but 94, 95 mile an hour exit velocity, 113,
crushing the ball,
19% barrel percentage, almost 60% hard hit rate, 291 xBA. I mean,
I mean, his ex WOBA is 414, which is 98th percentile. Again,
yeah.
WOBA is indication of
Yeah, yeah.
overall performance.
Yep.
That's really good. Like that's Judgian. All right.
So, I mean, I think just like as a fan and a you know lover of fantasy baseball, I wish he had the opportunity to give us everyday at bats just to see what he could be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with what we're seeing here, like it would be so cool to see what is he going to look like at the end of the season?
Yeah, I'm looking at his stats against lefties. He has 44 plate appearances against left-handed pitching. He's hitting 200. He's got 4 homers
Yeah.
against some 13 strikeouts. Uh, so he has a bit of a platoon split, but 200 is not
It's not
terrible.
awful.
Right. Like there are guys that have splits where, he's 256 against righties. And then
Yeah.
that left-handed batting average would be, 150. And it's
Yeah.
not that. It's 200. So
Hmm.
I really do think that it would be great to have Ben Rice playing every day.
Hmm.
But where he's going to play, I don't know. He should be there every day, first baseman. And you know what? I know we talked about Goldie being an overperformer, and Goldie might crater at some point this year. So that might be Ben Rice's opportunity is to play every day at first base.
Yeah. I think it's just unfortunate, but
It is, but
is what it is.
I think Ben Rice is their first baseman of the future because now that Vladdy's been locked up for Toronto,
Hmm.
I think Ben Rice is who they're probably going to keep at first base next year. And then my guess is Kyle Tucker is going to be the guy that they're going to go after in the offseason. But that's a discussion for
Ooh.
later in the year. Anyway, moving on to other hitters. For where are they now? Other hitters, I got a really quick one. Let's just knock this one out real quick.
Yeah,
Your favorite, Kyron Paris. Where is he now?
yeah.
Triple A.
Yeah. Yeah, I was so shocked he just how he blew up, I guess everyone's just like so, there's such a anxiety of like who's gonna be this year's breakout player, and everybody wants to be like the first one in line, and I guess he kind of made that first big splash, but there's always a guy like Paris every year that, has like a 3 homer game, and you're like, who's Seth Beer? Do we need to pick him up? No. So,
No. Kyron Paris, the flashiest of flash in the pan, back in AAA. I think he went like 13 for 108 or something like that with
oh, it was terrible.
like 50 strikeouts or some stupid number like that. So deservedly so back in AAA. Other hitters, Wilyer Abreu, Lars Nootbaar, pair of outfielders who got off to scorching hot starts. And one of them might just
Hmm.
be a dude and is like pretty good. But I'm not sure because he too is not playing every day. And that's Wilyer Abreu. I think, Lars Nootbaar, I think, has shown us he is what he is. But what do we think about Wilyer Abreu? Is he globby? Or is he taking a jump into like, he's actually a good, like he's a dude, like he's good.
Well, right now he's on my crap list because he's blocking true set, El Duderino, Roman Anthony from his ascending, to the majors, his ascendance to the majors. But
Not just to the majors, to superstardom. Let's be honest here.
yeah, come on, get out of here. I'm waiting for that ankle injury or something.
The Phantom IL just to get him up.
Uh, I guess he could be. I mean, I don't know what his splits are. That would be my immediate
He's got
wonder.
29 plate appearances against lefties, hitting 200. So even less than
That
Ben Rice.
explains it. That explains it.
No homers. No homers.
Yeah,
But 4 strikeouts to 4 walks.
it looks pretty good. I mean, I don't. Well, I mean, if you have platoon issues, I don't think I can say he's at the top of the glob because he's not playing every day. So, I mean, what do we think? He's gonna hit 25 homers, hit 250, steal 10 bases. That just seems like, you know, top glob.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's the outfield version of Jonathan Aranda.
Yeah.
I would actually comp those two together.
Yeah, that's good. I like
Um,
that.
so you know, if you're not rostering Jonathan Aranda because because he plays for the Rays basically, and he's only going to play against right-handed
Hmm.
pitching, uh, then you shouldn't roster Wilyer Abreu for the exact same reason.
Hmm.
But I think they're like one and the same. But you know, if they played every day, okay, so maybe their batting average would be a bit lower, but I don't think they would be all that different, to be honest. Uh,
Probably not.
yeah. Another guy who was a flash in the pan, possibly. I believe his name is George Herman Babe Carson Kelly. Bruce. um, Carson Kelly seems to have come crashing, whatever another word is for crashing that might describe a worse accident than Carson Kelly's descent back to the planet.
Uh,
We can forget about Carson Kelly rest of the season, right?
yeah, I just think that was never going to be real or sustainable what he was doing, just based on his long track record of mediocrity. And just the other thing too is his playing time there was questionable. So I think outside of like a two catcher league, I wouldn't have pinned my hopes on that sustaining.
Yeah, Carson Kelly, if you haven't moved on from him already, please do so. Go get Agustin Ramirez. He's
Hmm.
actually been very, very good. Now, he's not a where are they now player, Agustin Ramirez, because he came up a little too late in the process. I was looking for guys like early April,
Hmm.
kind of. Uh, and a guy who was another early April darling, kind of out of nowhere based on his performance last season, but that was Noelvi Marte.
Yeah.
He got good results from his MRI. We talked about this a little bit uh, earlier this week, I think. Like, what do we think of Noel V. Marte?
I mean, it's unfortunately that he got injured because he's still a bit of a question, as to what he is. Because yeah, as we said, he was really great. I think what 2023, he showed like a lot of he's got prospect pedigree, and he showed that upside in 2023. He got busted for using PEDs, and then he basically lost the whole season. And then he came up. He was up again last year and was terrible, like unusable. And then, as kind of an afterthought, he was given a shot in April, and he looked really good. Now, a lot of that was off. Some of that was off. Some of that big production was off a blowout game against some position players. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
why I would have loved to see like him play through May to kind of see what was gonna sustain, I guess, and kind of see through some of the data noise. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had him in our 12 teamer. I dropped him because of Alex Bregman and I needed to make room. So he's since been picked up. Oh well. So I don't know. I mean, it's it's like such a small sample, but
His sample relative to just about everyone else we've talked about today is much smaller. He's only got 73 plate appearances. And the reason I put him on this list was because of that. It's like, where are they now? Well, he's been hurt for most of this time. And so your expectations of him may have to just be modified because he's coming off of a pretty bad oblique injury, and we don't know how
oh
that's going to
yeah.
change his mechanics on his swing. But also because his sample size is so small, he's still very much a mystery relative to some of these other guys like Kyron Paris, clear move on. I mean, the Angels have
Mhm.
moved on. Carson Kelly, clear move on. Lars Nootbaar, back to what we thought he was going to be. He didn't really make any improvements. And then Wilyer Abreu might actually be a guy that you can roster. So I'm just like, I don't think we can have that same opinion on Noelvi Marte yet.
Yeah, but even so, like, what would you project him out to? Like, what would you say his line would be at the end of the season? And is that a starting third baseman in a shallow league?
It is not a starting third baseman, no matter what the projection is, because I think third base is actually fairly decent as I bring up
Yeah.
some rankings here just to look at. I would give him probably like 12 homers rest of season. Maybe let's give him
10 stolen bases?
Yeah, I was going to say 10 to 15 stolen bases, and I think he's going to hit probably like 260. And we say for 260 a lot because that's like average. But looking at third base, in a shallow league, let's just go, like 13 or 14 deep. I wouldn't put him in the top 14 third baseman. I wouldn't even put him in 15. I put Josh Young ahead of him. I put Matt Shaw ahead of him. I put Berger and Vientos and Royce Lewis ahead, and then the rest are just
who
like
do you think is going to hit more home runs, Shaw or Marte?
Marte. But I think Shaw's going to hit for a higher average and steal more bases.
I'd agree with that.
Okay. Whew. That was a tough one. That's a good question. All right. Those are the hitters for where are they now. Now let's move on to some pitchers. And we've mentioned a few of these guys already today when it was pertaining to my team. Max Meyer, we talked about a lot. He's really riding the struggle bus right now.
Oh, man.
Slider usage has fallen off. Is he still generally rosterable? You called him a stash, like a rostered stash earlier.
Yeah. His success seems to hinge on his slider. And when he's not throwing that slider, bad things happen, and he has not been throwing it, and he's been unusable. And it's really disappointing because I know I remember an earlier pod where we compared him to Mackenzie Gore as who would
Oh yeah.
who would have the better season, and I think we were both more excited on Meyer, and it's
Can't be
very
right
much
about everything.
very much the opposite. But it's just been really disappointing because he's shown us his upside, which was that 14 strikeout game. I know that was against the Reds, but not everyone strikes out 14 against the Reds. So I think it's just been really disappointing. I think if you have a pretty decent pitching rotation and he's like you're on the end of your rotation, and you can have the patience, maybe you're in a good standing, and you can maybe stash him for another, I don't know, maybe to mid-June. Maybe he starts, maybe just pay attention to that slider usage, and if it starts going up, the results start getting better, good on you for stashing him. But yeah, I just think he's kind of in like the Sandy Alcantara, Shane
Ooh.
Baz. No, I'm just saying like pitchers with upside that you can't use right now.
Yeah.
That you wish were like either in the minors or on the injured list.
You know what? Meyer is just so peculiar to me because his Sierra is 3.47.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah, no, I saw that because I dropped him in our 12 teamer. You picked him up.
Yeah.
And then I looked at his numbers and I was like, damn, did I make a mistake? But it just seems like it all rides on that slider usage,
Yeah, it really does. I added him because of the peripheral numbers, because the swinging strike rate was pretty good. Like when we analyzed Shane Baz earlier and how his strikeout rate wasn't matching up with his whiffs and all the numbers, just 2 + 2 was not equaling 4 with Shane Baz. Same thing to my eyes with Max Meyer.
Yep.
2 + 2 does not equal 4 here, and I'm not quite understanding why. And yes, of course, it has to do with that slider. But I just don't, like, I would expect the peripherals to otherwise be atrocious to match the performance, and they haven't really gone in that direction. Sure, his xERA and his FIP are both above 4, but his xFIP is 3.29. Like I said, his Sierra is 3.47. And that's the one I like to go off of. So I look at it and I go, why isn't he better? It's just such a curious case to me. But like you said, you can't fake 14 strikeouts. So I'm going to ride him just a little bit longer. He's got some really good matchups this week. He's got the Rockies at home, and then he's at Tampa Bay. So he's got some decent matchups this week. Let's see how he does. I think the Rockies start will be very indicative. If he can't even deal with the worst team in the league, then we've got a real problem.
Yep.
Next up, I think the guy that we should have compared Mackenzie Gore to, Chris Bubich, is having a phenomenal season. All
Yeah.
the indicators point to this is legit. Everything he's
Yep.
doing is real. Do you think Chris Bubich is sustainable going forward?
Yeah, I think so. I think he was it last year he kind of came on the scene and then he got injured, I think. Or was that a season before?
I believe it was a season before 2023 through 16 innings. Now, the numbers might not look great, but he looked great. And he
Hmm.
got hurt after those 16 innings. I believe he needed Tommy John, came back as a reliever last year and was outstanding in 30 innings. They're giving him a chance to start this year, and he's been one of the pitching breakouts, I think.
Now, I do think some regression is coming for him. I don't think he's going to sustain this under, this 1.45 ERA.
No, I don't think. No, yeah. Regression comes for us
I don't
all.
think I don't think he's that talented of a pitcher. Like looking at his like stuff plus and all that kind of stuff. I think he's great. I wouldn't look to. I mean, if you're gonna get like a top five pitcher, like if pitcher for him, maybe. But like, I think I'd be thrilled to have him in my roster. But I do think, you know, it could go up a run or maybe two, by the end of the season. But I'm not. This is no shade on him. I'm just saying, like, I don't think he's going to sustain the current ERA.
Yeah, I think his ERA ends up closer to 3, but I'm not
Yeah.
saying that he has terrible performances to get it there. I'm talking like, okay, so now he starts giving up 3 runs in 6 innings or 2 in 5,
Yeah.
and it's
Yep.
not really he's not going to be as utterly dominant as he's been. But I do worry about the innings with him.
Oh, yeah, that's a good call.
He had 130 in 2021, but that was 2021. That was 4 years ago.
Mhm.
So I do worry about the innings as we get later onto the season, but as we've seen time and time again, these innings things just seem to work themselves out in some way or another, whether it's a Phantom IL stint or they just, start letting or he just goes 5 innings. But he's been, if I'm not mistaken, he's been pretty efficient. So he's been
Yeah.
able to go like 6 innings on 80 pitches. So it's not like he's out there for a lot of pitches.
Yep.
Yeah, I will say I'm very lucky to have picked up Chris Bubich in the league that we were talking about earlier, where the back end of my rotation is basically the waiver wire. Um, but those are some pitchers for where they are now. We're running out of time, so we'll wrap it up there. I just want to say this was our 20th episode. So thank you for sticking with us for 20 episodes so far.
Hey.
We got to 20 faster than we got to 10. Somebody explained the physics behind that, but somehow we did it. And that'll wrap it up for this week's episode. Number 20 in the books. We'll be back next week with 2 new episodes and midweek minutes to get you caught up on all of the most important news and notes from around the league. And of course, our full-length episode as well. To make sure you never miss an episode, please subscribe. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, YouTube, Spotify, the Odyssey app, wherever you get it, we're there. So for Josh, I'm Eric saying, see you next time.
Well, right now he's on my crap list